I want to dive further into the question of like, what the hell are you talking about with all this ML, Python, cloud stuff? And in particular, one thing I think that's foundational is this notion of a server, which we should define. So typically when server gets thrown around, I'll talk about CI server processes, virtual servers, physical servers. Do you mean a machine? Do you mean software? Sometimes we mean both. So let's use the Google SRE definition. Machine meaning like an actual machine or computer that's going to show up in a rack. Racks will be in a server room, something like this. And then a server we'll use as just a process that's running on one of these machines. But remember, we need to always come back to like, why are we doing this? Not just, what is the technical thing? Business problems and opportunities. We suspect we can apply computational and quantitative techniques to optimize or transform those processes. And so now it becomes like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Well, I'm going to need some compute resources, compute and storage, to apply some of these techniques. This is where things get really exciting. And I want to tell a quick story because when I first got a job, or I was on a project as a sysadmin, we installed a physical server into a rack on my first day. And there's a little monitor that comes off the server. And I worked on that server via the monitor for several weeks. It wasn't until someone said, why aren't you at your desk, that I learned that you could actually remote into the server via something called an SSH client. I had no idea. Now this is alone is not that interesting. Wow, Gus is a dummy. The broader question, or the broader point here, is that whether or not we're using something in the public cloud, we're using an on-prem cloud, however our company chooses to allocate computational resources to us, when we're using this remote client-server model, our kind of technical level will dictate how much, at what level we can interact with other services. That's wordy. What I mean to say is like, we can get off of our local machine and do potentially cool things with some other bigger, faster computer, provided we just know how. And that may mean like, hey, give me a virtual machine that's either in a server room at my company, or on an EC2 instance, a virtual server in AWS. It may mean interacting with a REST API that I create or that someone else created so I can get predictions from an ML service. Or it may mean even using an end-to-end ML service that a company provides or a vendor provides, like, hey, Amazon SageMaker, go, here's some data, train a model, give me the results. There's lots we can do here once we get out of the mindset of like, I need to run things on my local machine. I can use these external servers, meaning a combination of both like compute and storage, but then also software. And we'll look at this in a later video through the lens of like good, fast, and cheap, and we'll figure out which two you want to optimize for, because you'll be able to pick how much effort I want to provide, how good I want this to be, how much I'm willing to spend to figure out which of these services make the most sense for you and your use case, or more broadly for which techniques you want to apply to solve which business problems.